70 million acres of wide open possibilities. Nevada is untouched. A place where the desert comes to life, the ground holds the history, and nature perseveres.
I've been camping all my life, and these are the kind of places where I feel free and feel like a whole person. This is where I feel at home.
I get a ride with Nevada's most notorious outdoorsman, Jim Boone.
They discovered gold, and hence the name became Gold Point, which is what we live with now.
I stop at Gold Point for one-of-a-kind mining history.
So it was meant to look like a watchtower, a wonderful watchtower looking out over this valley.
In Austin, I explore the history behind Stokes Castle.
All right, so we're gonna race.
We're gonna race, and you're gonna go down.
Drake, you know I like you, but you're talking smack. I'm gonna have to put you in your place.
We'll see.
And I get some air at the Nellis dunes.
Pretty spectacular, isn't it? Nevada's like that.
I'm John Burke. Join me as I explore the 7th largest state in the nation, here on Outdoor Nevada.
Any visitor to Nevada will quickly find that one of the state's greatest treasures is its people. Today, I found a gem in Jim Boone, an ecologist who knows all of Las Vegas's nature secrets.
Nevada's favorite son. Jim, good seeing you.
Well, it's nice to meet you too, John, and what a great place to do it.
Yeah, no kidding. If I described you as an outdoorsman and an environmentalist, would that be accurate?
Yeah, it would be. I spend most of my time these days working on protecting the landscape, and both to keep it open for recreation so that we can continue to go out here, and also to keep it safe for the plants and animals that live here.
And you're very successful at that. Give me some of the places that you've worked on where you've succeeded at that.
Well, we helped get Basin and Range National Monument established. We helped get Gold Butte National Monument established. And I've been very active on the mining claim marker project too, where we're taking down these old historic markers that are trapping and killing birds out here.
Why do you love it so much? You take it to the next level of action. How come?
You know, I've been camping all my life, and these are the kind of places where I feel free and feel like a whole person. This is where I feel at home.
In 2002, Jim started birdandhike.com, a passion-driven website that details all the hikes around Las Vegas and gives tips on how to optimize bird watching and hiking experiences in the area.
What are we going to see today?
Well, we're going to start here at Petroglyphs headquarters, and then we're going to drive out into Desert National Wildlife Refuge. It's a big wild country, and to hopefully see some petroglyphs and some of these spectacular sand dunes out there.
I'm excited. I got this feeling like it's going to be a great day. Shall we go take a look?
Let's do it.
You driving?
I am.
Let's go.
All right.
At Petroglyphs National Wildlife Refuge, 9.2 miles of hiking trails cross over meadows, marshes, lakes, streams, and desert habitat. 264 bird species have been recorded here, and that's half of all birds documented in the entire state of Nevada.
Well, I got to say, Jim, that I find this to be kind of unusual out here to see this. What do we know about this?
Well, it turns out that we don't know a whole lot. I think it was probably built in about 1870, but just not a whole lot of information about why. The place, the exact site seems to be confusing to people, to historians.
And how would the role of the Southern Paiutes or the Native Americans in this area play into this building?
Well, the stones that were used to build it have petroglyphs on them. So the Native people would have been doing something like sitting up on the hill behind us here, and maybe watching for deer or something coming down to the water, and just maybe doodling in their spare time, hard to say. But just making petroglyphs on, small rocks. And then people came and gathered up the rocks and built them into this building.
Though it may not offer the comforts that appeal to you and me, this modest home has become a critical environment for local bats.
A short hike off of Alamo Road brings us to something pretty special. What is it?
Yeah, well, these are some really old petroglyphs down here we can see on the rock walls behind us.
Now, who would have put these here when?
Well, they're the Southern Paiute people, or perhaps the people that lived here before them, because we can tell these are old because they're all abstract designs. Like on these, we don't see any bighorn sheep or representations of people. That tells us there's some pretty old artwork here.
Impossible to answer, I know, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What do you think it says?
Yeah. Yes, indeed, impossible to answer because we weren't part of that culture. But we can look at some things, and for instance, back here we see a lot of dots on the rocks, and it suggests to me that somebody was counting something. And you know, it's the longest nights of the year, shortest days. Sun is low on the horizon. These dots with that shadow cast across, that could actually be a solstice calendar. We might have to come back on December 21st and see where that shadow lies relative to those dots. I'm
struck by how you're able to read the land. It really talks to you like a book, that I don't have that talent. How many hikes have you taken in your life?
That's like asking how many is infinity.
Very good.
People look at me and they say, "You've hiked everywhere, haven't you?" And I say, you know, there's one more ridge, there's one more wash. I haven't been up every one. There's an infinite number of places out here, and you look in every one, you're going to find something exciting.
With a PhD in ecology and a lifetime spent in the outdoors, Jim has some of the richest knowledge of Nevada lands. Ask him about flora and fauna, geology, or anything outdoors, and Jim likely has the answer.
There's nothing I like more than an interesting landscape in Nevada, and this certainly has that. Tell me about these sand dunes here, because you don't see that very often.
Well, certainly not in this part of the world, but these sand dunes are probably 100 to 120 feet high back here. And the sand comes from this big open expanse out here, this big dry lake. Prevailing winds blow it this way, the winds hit up against the mountains, drop their load of sand, wind keeps going, and the sand dunes build here.
How long has the lake been there, the dry lake bed?
Well, it's hard to say how long it's been dry, but we know that about 10,000 years ago when people first came, that it would have been a lake with, you know, reeds and tules and ducks and everything you'd expect to find around a lake.
One thing you notice out here, besides how quiet it is, there's not too many roads out here.
No, there's not. In fact, this is the largest roadless area in the lower 48.
These sand dunes spread over 15,600 square miles within the Desert National Wildlife Refuge's 1.65 million acres of land.
You know, you are a man who knows about the outdoors, who certainly knows about Nevada. One of the challenges I have of my job is to explain to people how beautiful it is in a place like this. How do you describe this? Can you help me with that?
Why, you know, that's a big question. It's hard to say. You just have to like come here and see it to understand it. But what do I feel? I feel at home. I feel like this is where I belong. This is peace and quiet. This is where my brain slows down. I feel calm and content out here.
I gotta say, I know you had to take a day out of your life to spend it with me today, but I have really benefited from this. I hope the audience is as well too. So, Jim, thank you so much for taking this. You're a good man. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me, and thanks for your interest in our public lands.
People like Jim spend years of their lives preserving the most precious landscapes and life forms of Nevada. Their endless dedication makes the state the treasure we know it today.
Although these sand dunes have been in motion for thousands of years, they've left this land relatively unchanged. And that's in part because of guys like Jim, a true Nevadan who knows all the great hiking spots and cares deeply about this land. The Silver State is full of mining history and old ghost towns in the middle of absolutely nowhere. But today, I think I found something that's a little different. Welcome to Gold Point, Nevada, population 5, or maybe 6, depending on who's in town that day. This place is like a living museum, and if you're feeling it, you could even stay here overnight.
180 miles away from Las Vegas, and frozen a half a century in the past, this defunct mining town may be tapped out of gold ore, but it's still producing incredible memories to this day.
Walt, how are you?
Great, Tom. How are you doing?
Good to see you.
Yeah.
I got 1,000 questions for you.
Oh, one at a time, though.
All right, it all begins here. When was this town founded? When did this all begin?
This started back in 1868, where it was called Lime Point originally, where they used to come up here, and that hill over there was a lime deposit, and that's how it got its name. But people came up here doing prospecting. Then in '08, they came up here and found silver, horn silver and renamed the town Horn Silver.
Horn silver is an informal name for silver chloride that's been exposed to desert air and polished by the elements. The resulting patina is said to resemble the color of a cow's horn, thus the name, horn silver.
In the late 20s and 28, they discovered gold, and hence the name became Gold Point, which is what we live with now.
And back in the day, at its height, how many people were here?
As many as coming and going, 1,200, mostly around the 800 level during the heydays of the town.
Unfortunately, mining is a boom or bust industry, and Gold Point eventually hit hard times. But in the late 1970s, Walt and his partners stepped in.
And what are you trying to do out here?
We're trying to make it something that people can come up and enjoy and get a feel of what it was like back in the day when people had to live this hard life that it was up here.
You know, I just got here, but I can see you're doing an awesome job. Real quick, what is this building behind us?
This one is the post office right here, which also has an adjoining residence next to it, which we've made into part of our bed and breakfast. And the post office itself has been closed since 1964. Ora May, which was the postmistress, she lived on here until the 80s. When she passed away is when we acquired the building.
And it's like a time capsule.
Yes,
you're maintaining it, but nothing really has changed, yeah?
Nothing. In fact, I keep some of the buildings exactly like that. I haven't even removed or put anything in there for 35 years.
You're really preserving.
Yeah, absolutely. We left all the dust from the 70s in there.
But Walt isn't just saving on house cleaning bills. He's capturing a remarkable slice of American history.
You're looking at the Ohio mine, which was closed in the late 30s, just before the war, for the war effort.
The Ohio mine wasn't the only gold mine that closed for World War II. In 1942, the War Production Board issued Order Number 208, deeming gold mining inessential. After that, all the mines shut down and the miners went to war.
How deep does this mine go?
About 1,000 feet.
It looks like it's in great condition. Did you fix it up, or was it like that?
No, it was like that, and pretty much what you see right there is the way it stayed since they removed the equipment out in the 60s. The only thing that changes it is the panels start disappearing because the wind takes them.
The mine reopened on a smaller scale after the war, but in the 1960s, a cave-in closed the Dunphy shaft for good. Since then, the town has been pretty much frozen in time.
Well, you know, I think American history really never dies, and when you've got a curator, somebody that knows it and can show it in 3D, it's a whole new experience. When people stay here, where do they stay in town?
Well, we have the bed and breakfast. That would be the rooms that we have, which are 8. And they go anywhere from renting a whole house to a cabin that suits 2, or we have the dry camping, which people put up tents for that matter. And then we also have the trailer park.
And what about, where do they eat?
Well, they eat right by the saloon there. We have a full kitchen.
Saloon. Now you're talking my language. Can we go take a look at that?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
At its peak, Gold Point boasted 13 saloons. After all, mining is a thirsty business. But now, the town only has 1. So a Gold Point pub crawl starts and ends right here.
So, Walt, this is the saloon. I'm guessing this is the big gathering place.
Yeah, it's a focal point of the whole town. It's nice, especially when evenings cool off a little bit. We start a fire. And in the morning when we have breakfast, it's nice to come in, especially if you're camping.
Now, what would you say is the busiest time for you?
Spring and fall. Usually spring is the best time, I think, because people love that freshness. The earth hasn't had a chance to warm up. You know, as it warms up during the summer, it retains a lot of that heat. And spring is usually so much more refreshing.
I gotta tell you, this place has character, and I think you are a character in the best way possible.
Yeah,
I don't know how many people have come through here. It's not enough. Everybody should come here, meet you, get a drink, spend the night, and get some mining history. Thank you for this day.
Thank you for being here. You have a good trip back.
No matter what time of year, Gold Point is a refreshing way to slip out of the present and into Nevada's mining history.
I guess it seems this little town is frozen in time, and I suppose that's probably true. That's why people come here. But that's not the end of the story. See, Walt has big plans. Turns out he wants to build a mining museum right here at the end of Main Street. And until then, come on out to Gold Point. Look like the kind of folks that fit right in.
On the loneliest highway in America, Austin holds on to the memories of times past. Founded in 1862, the mining town was once the second largest city in the state. But that's not all. This little town keeps something else to be remembered by. A western castle you gotta see to believe.
Robin, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Oh, come on, look where we are.
I know. Isn't it wonderful up here? Thanks for coming up and sharing this Saturday morning with us.
You know, you are really passionate about this area, aren't you?
I am. I am very passionate about Austin.
And you just got here.
I just got here. April 7th, I drove through Austin for the first time, and that was this year.
And now you're working for the Chamber of Commerce.
Work for the Chamber.
You're knee-deep in it.
Keeper the keys to this castle, bought a home, buying a business, and just love to share how amazing and quirky wonderful this place is.
The 1860s silver rush brought venturers of all kinds to Austin, including one prospector who would unknowingly give the town its most noteworthy feature. His name was Anson Phelps Stokes.
Anson Stokes was a mogul. He was a banking mogul, a mining mogul, and a railroad mogul. And in the 1890s, that's what was happening out here, was banking and mining and railroad. And so there was a project he was working on that ended up being the Central Nevada Railway. And he saw this location. There were mines on the property. There was mining equipment, and he bought it.
He had a little bit of money.
He had a lot of money. When he passed away in 1913, his estimated net worth was about $20 million.
Yeah, that would do it.
Yeah, it would do it.
Okay, so he comes out here, he's figuring, I'm thinking, maybe a summer home?
Yes, this was meant to be a summer home. He was a well-traveled businessman, had traveled through Europe, and outside of Roma, he had seen a castle that he loved. And so when he landed here, he could build whatever he wanted. And so he built this castle, which they referred to as the tower. They did not call it a castle. It had a battlement on the 3rd floor on the roof level. So it was meant to look like a watchtower, a wonderful watchtower looking out over this valley and watching everything below it.
In between each hand-hewn stone, a layer of clay mortar and wedged rocks have held this structure together for over a century.
It took about 1.5 years for the tower or the castle to be built. It was done all by miners, local miners and craftsmen. And the granite is native to the area. So as they were mining out these stones and rocks, they could use them for the castle.
So you said it's 3 levels, and then there are these beams coming out.
Yes.
What are these?
These are the balconies. This was an opulent palace. It had balconies that could look out over the valley. It had plate glass windows. It had fireplaces and the fanciest of indoor plumbing for the day.
And how many bedrooms? How many kids did he had his wife?
He ended up having 9 children with his wife together. We believe that at the age that they traveled here and were here for that one summer, there were a few children that traveled with them. And that was it, 2 to 3.
The Stokes laid their roots back in New York City, where Anson ran multiple prospering businesses in mining, banking, and even real estate. At the time, Austin seemed to give the Stokes family a much-needed escape.
Oh my gosh, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing Italy.
Can't you picture it?
Yeah.
Yes, it was very Italian, very opulent. If you imagine this building with the fresh plaster walls and possibly wallpaper, they were not camping. This was a vacation home for a very wealthy family in the 1890s.
We're talking candelabras.
We're talking rugs and furniture and tapestries and china and silver, and all of that was here.
And I could see where the stairs went. So there were 3 levels.
3 levels, very Victorian with the 12-foot ceilings. So it was, you can imagine what it looked like in the 1800s.
And the 3 fireplaces.
There are 3 fireplaces, so we're on the lower level. This would have been the 1st floor, and it would have been the kitchen dining area. 2nd floor would have most likely been the parlor and the gathering area. And then the 3rd floor would have been the 2 bedrooms. Each the 2nd and 3rd floor had a balcony and plate glass windows that you could go out and enjoy the Reese River Valley view.
If these walls could talk, what would they say?
Oh gosh, they would talk of an amazing spot and a home that wasn't lived in or loved enough, I think. It was too short-lived, I believe, for as beautiful as I imagine it was.
Certainly deserved a little bit more.
I think it did.
The Stokes family spent a full month in the castle in the summer of 1897. They came back for a few more days in October of the same year and made their final visit in the summer of 1898 when they sold all their property in town.
Rockin' Robin,
Yes, sir.
thank you for everything you're doing for Austin, for Nevada, and for taking me out here today so much.
Thanks for coming to visit us.
To call it a short-lived vacation home barely scratches the surface of what Stokes Castle represents to this community. A timestamp of its history and the pride of the town.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Stokes Castle, a perfect example of Nevada history standing tall, waiting for you to come and see it for yourself.
When the world tells you there's some place you aren't meant to drive, a high-torque, adrenaline-fueled buggy says, "Try me."
Look behind me through the haze and the dust and you might see Las Vegas. Now, on the outskirts of Las Vegas is Nellis Air Force Base. Out here, there's not much. And you know the people in Nevada, they usually do something with that land, wondering why nothing's going on. Oh, but there is. And it's called Sun Buggy, and this is my guy, Drake. Drake, how you doing, pal?
How's it going?
Good, good. Hey, how many of these buggies you got?
We got 90.
And then you got ATVs?
Oh yeah, we got roughly 50.
Today, I'm on the north side of town for a high-octane adventure. Drake will be my guide over the dunes today and maybe even some good-natured competition. He's a Vegas native whose father was once a pilot in the United States Air Force Thunderbirds. Needless to say, speed runs in this guy's blood.
What are the ages that can come out here?
You can have kids as young as 4 years old or as old as 90 plus.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So how many people can go out at one time?
At one time, we can have 9 buggies, between 4 and 2 people per buggy.
Okay, now tell me about your courses. You have different kind of courses?
We can do Nellis, which is a slower pace. We're still going over the dunes and it's more sand. Then we also have the Baja Chase. And the Baja Chase, I go as fast as I can and you guys try to catch up, but it's kind of hard.
Oh, that sounds like a challenge, but we'll get to that in a second. How long are these courses?
We have a 30-minute and an hour.
All right. And you also have an evening ride?
Yes, 7 p.m., where we put some lights on here and you can follow us through the dark.
Dude, that's insane.
Yeah.
Is it all year?
All year round.
All right.
365 days.
What about conditions like today? It's a little breezy. Is that going to slow you down any?
The wind has no effect on the engines.
Buggies rose in popularity in the 60s after the introduction of the Myers-Manx. Air-cooled engines and wide tires make them fast, stable, and able to rip across all kinds of sandy, rough terrain.
So how does this work today between you and I?
Well, first we're gonna get strapped up, be nice and safe, and then we're just gonna hit it.
All right, so we're going to race.
We're gonna race, and you're gonna go down.
Drake, you know I like you, but you're talking smack. I'm going to have to put you in your place.
We'll see, we'll see.
Let's have at it.
All right.
Drake and I get in position for a classic hot rod style race. Only today, instead of shredding the blacktop, we're crashing through the sand. Call me delusional, but I like my chances.
Here we go! Woo! This is like fuel-injected fun to the max out here. And here's the thing, there's like 100 people out here. This is the place to be. But there's 15,000 acres of BLM land. I mean, these tracks are endless. I gotta go join them.
When the dune buggy became popular in the 60s, it represented the nonconformity and free spirit that was the signature of the decade. Today, that spirit lives on, as the modern buggy still races us into the great outdoors, towards freedom and adventure.
Oh, Drake, dude, you totally owned me on that, man.
You almost had me. But then at the end, I got you.
Yeah, you're being kind. I got one more word for you.
What's that?
Rematch.
Done.
Support for Outdoor Nevada comes from Jaguar Land Rover Las Vegas and Jaguar Land Rover Reno, inspiring the spirit of adventure with confidence in any terrain or conditions. Information at jlrlv.com or jlrreno.com.